there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I have some fun crafts coming your way. No, let's try that again. Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I have some fun home decor crafts coming your way. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Today we'll be working on some spring farmhouse home decor crafts. So let's get started with project number 1. For this project, I'm going to use these fabrics. The green came from Hobby Lobby, the orange from Walmart, I believe. And then I'm also going to use this that comes from Joann's. It's a quilted fabric. And this that was a blanket or a quilt I bought off eBay. But if you don't have this, I know like this quilted from Joann's, they make this in white as well or other colors, so you could use that for a background. I will have a 3-page free PDF pattern for you. The link will be in my description box to my blog. Click on that pattern and let me take a little peek and show you what this is about. So page 1 and 2 is the pattern of the bunny we're making. You're going to tape it together at the dash lines and cut it out. Now the part where it says place on the fold here, you're going to place that on the fold of your fabric. So those of you that are new or might not understand it, basically you fold your fabric in half. You've got a fold there. You're going to place this part on the fold, and then you're going to cut it out, okay, obviously. And then when you open it, you've got a full-size pattern. You'll have to do that twice because you need 2 of them. Now, if you don't want to do that, you could take this, trace it onto some poster board. Okay, I'm going to show it with my pattern already cut out. So I've cut this out, trace it onto some poster board, flip it, trace the other side, and then cut it out into a full pattern like this. And then you can use this and just trace 2 this way on your fabric, not having to place it on a fold. Page 3, you have your inner ear, which you'll cut 2 out of fabric, a pocket you'll cut 1, and a carrot you'll cut 2. In all pieces, you have the option of cutting out batting as well. Okay, now if you can cut the carrot out whole and just use one color, like say you want to use like just a neutral color like a off-white or a cream, or you can elect to cut the greenery part in a different color, obviously in green. So on page 1 is the carrot top part if you want to cut that out in green and then have your carrot in orange. So I've got my main bunny cut out 2 pieces. All right, and then I've got my batting cut out 2 pieces. Again, it's optional if you want to use batting. And then my pocket, it's already quilted, but I just want it thicker. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces. You could cut 1 or 2 pieces out of batting. I like to add more batting because it just gives it a thicker quilted look, okay? 2 inner ear pieces. Again, I'm adding the option of 1 more piece of batting. 2 I thought was too thick. Then I've got my 2 whole carrot pieces in orange and my 2 carrot tops in green. Now the carrot top is a little bit longer than the original, and I did that for a reason, okay? I'll show you that here in just a minute. We're just going to, give it a little fun rustic look. So basically, also, I cut my batting out. And what I did is cut it out whole, and then I cut it across at the, junction of the carrot and the carrot top. So you have 4 separate pieces. So what I did, so the carrot top, the greenery, I left it long so that we could have a rustic look at the bottom of the carrot. So you're going to just cut off about 1/4 of that. Okay, and then just fray the edges, and then when you lay it on there, it'll meet right at the junction of the original pattern, okay? Do that on both pieces. I'll show you how to put this all together in a minute, and then that's what it would look like, okay? Giving us, again, that rustic look. So if you're a gluer or a sewer, I'm spot gluing, and you're using batting, you're going to glue your batting to your carrot top. And then we'll just glue that whole ensemble to the original top of the carrot. But before we do that, some of that might peek out. So if you're using, like I did, just cut it all out in orange, just around the sides and the top, just trim like 1/8 of an inch off. So we don't see it, but we have something to glue to. And then you're going to take and just glue that whole thing we just did here to that top of that original pattern. Okay, just like that on both pieces. Then if you're a gluer or a sewer, I'm spot gluing, you're going to glue the bottom part of the batting pieces to the wrong side of the fabric on the carrot, on the inside of that carrot pattern. And of course, you want it at the bottom of the carrot. Then if you're a gluer, you're going to start gluing it together. You're going to put glue right along the edge between the two fabrics all the way around, not gluing the top portion of the greenery. So you're just gluing around the sides of your carrot to put it together, but not the top. Now, if you're a sewer, you can have the option of sewing across the bottom part of that greenery, and then again you're going to do like the gluers and sew all the way around the sides, leaving the top open. Now you don't have to sew along that bottom portion of the greenery because it's probably going to get covered up. Not probably, it will get covered up with the twine that we're going to wrap around it, but I know I did it. Okay, so you can not sew that part if you don't want to, but you definitely need to sew all the way around the edges except for the top part of the carrot. We want to leave that top part open so that, of course, we can stuff our carrot. All right, so I'm going to finish this little bit up here. Now go ahead and stuff your carrot. Only stuff to the top part of that orange of the carrot. And then if you're a gluer or a sewer, you can glue the top or sew the top, okay? And we'll scrunch that up and make it look all scrunchy there when we do twine. Here's mine all sewn at that top edge. All right, now let's move on to the rest of our bunny. If you're a gluer and you're using batting, you want to glue all your batting pieces together to your pocket. And around that outer edge, you want to glue that pocket to the bunny shape, just around that edge. Leave that top open. Well, that's where we're going to stuff our carrot. Okay, if you're a sewer, you do want to probably sew across this top edge, lay your pattern down onto your bunny, and then sew around that rest of that edge. And I'm only going to sew it on the first layer of fabric. I'm not going to worry about trying to put my batting in there. Then we're going to do the same thing at the top. If you're a gluer, glue your batting to your piece if you added batting, and then glue those inner ear pieces to the bunny ears. Sewers, you're going to sew that whole ensemble to just that first layer of fabric, okay? Because really we don't need to get the batting in there just yet. So I'm sewing the top of my fabric here for sewers. Then I've pinned that pocket to the bottom part of the bunny, and I'm sewing around that outer curved edge. And then here I am just doing one of the ears, the inner ears I should say, the inner ear, sewing around that ensemble onto that first layer of fabric. And I've probably got about a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. Okay, perfect. Now this is what it all looks like. I got my pocket sewn, it's open. All right, my inner ears are on, they're ready to go. Now if you're a gluer and you use batting, now's the time to get all your batting for the big bunny glued to your top piece and glued to your bottom piece, and then you're going to glue both of those pieces together, leaving a little opening right here for stuffing. If you're a sewer, of course, now you're going to go ahead and lay your bottom piece, both of your batting pieces and your top piece of fabric together, sew all the way around it, but leave an opening for stuffing. And I've probably got 1/2 inch, maybe even here, somewhere between a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch seam allowance here. So it really allows that area where I didn't sew to kind of just fluff up with all that batting and stuff. So hopefully that's all understandable. It's kind of different when you add extra batting, and you got to glue, especially if you're a gluer, you got to glue your batting to your fabric piece first before you can put it all together. But hopefully even just watching the video and what I'm saying gives you some semblance of what I'm trying to say and not confuse you. So here I am sewn all the way around. I've got this open, all right? Now, before we stuff, I want to show you, I want to fold my ear down. So you want to be careful when you stuff in here. If you want to fold it down, it's optional. Just lightly stuff so that you have enough pliable room in there to fold your ear down, okay? So I just kind of want to give you that heads up. Now go ahead and stuff your whole pillow, and then once you're done, you can glue that opening closed or sew that opening closed. Now, I'm all stuffed, everything's closed. I'm going to add some buttons. I've got 2 buttons for the pocket, a big button for the top. All right, I'm just going to use twine to add my buttons on. If you're a gluer, you can add twine to the center of your buttons and then glue those buttons on. And if you're a sewer or a gluer, you might like to hand sew. I'm using a big upholstery needle because it has a large enough eye opening to get that thicker twine through, and I'm just sewing it with that twine through that pocket. And as you can see, I'm using pliers to pull that through because I have so much thickness of fabric, and then trying to pull that twine, that thicker twine through That's why I'm doing that. And then just sew both of your buttons on. I'm just doing one here, and then on the inside, knot it off, cut off the excess. And then here's how it looks with both buttons on, really cute. And in the top, now you could just sew the button on here if you don't want to fold your ear down, but I want to fold my ear down, of course. So I'm starting through the back of the fabric. I'm pulling it through. And then about a ½ inch up, I'm going to pull it still through the front to the back. It's not going to fold our fabric yet. And then I'm going to add my button, folding my fabric over, and then add the twine through the other hole. And then now I'm going to take that needle through the front and back of the fabric and try to come out where you kind of knotted it in the first place. Pull it all the way through, and then once you get that button on there, that's what's going to hold your fold in place. And then as you get to the back, just go ahead and knot it off the back side and then cut off the excess, and you've got your cute little fold in there. Again, optional. Now our carrot, let's go back to decorating it. These little tassels came on that quilt that I cut up for the original bunny, so I thought I'm going to save them. And I'm going to use some beads. You might want to just use beads. So when I started this, I'm thinking, okay, I've got to get my tassels on the twine first, right? And then I will go ahead and wrap my twine around, the top of my carrot here from, right at the juncture of the greenery and the carrot. Wrap it around 3 or 4 times, and then, make a little bow. Right? And you don't have to put the tassels on first. I was just thinking that'd be easier. And then tie a little knot. And then I decided, wait a minute, the reason I'm using the beads is so when I tie that tassel on, I don't want to see the knot at the top of the tassel where I tied it on. So then I had to take my tassels off, put my beads on first, and then put my tassels on. And so I'm now tying a little knot at the top of my tassel. And then I'm going to take a needle to push the twine through the top of that bead and pull that bead down over that knot and then cut off the excess of that twine, and then it'll hide that tail of the twine at the top of my tassel. Understandable? You could just add a bead and tie it off if you want. Once I get both of those done, right, so super cute, I'm going to tuck it in my pocket. Bella's going to help. And that makes this project complete. Let's move on to project number 2. For this project, I have a bunch of different scrapbook papers here and then some supplies from Dollar Tree, okay? And it's pretty easy putting this together. So I've got 2 cubes from Dollar Tree. Now, these are the older cubes. They're really heavy. The newer ones, I think, are hollow on the inside, but that's okay because I also have 2 of these wood slices left. Remember from the flower I made in my last video, I saved the ends of the petals that I cut off. I've got a couple of wood slices here. I know Dollar Tree has packages of wood slices, a couple of these thick wood circles from Dollar Tree, a couple of dowels, but you only really need one, and then some of these egg-shaped pieces from Dollar Tree. And what I want to do is kind of make a 3-layer wood circle. So I'm going to, on this thick wood circle, I'm going to lay, so I've got 2 of these that I cut. I'm going to lay that on top, and then my wood slice on top of that. So I have like a 3-layer wood thing going on here to make a flower, right? So I'm using one of the eggs, and I'm going to turn the other egg around, and I'm going to trace that to make a wood circle. It's so thin that I can just cut that off because I got a package of these eggs for projects and I've only used 1 or 2. Might as well use them up. And I want to cut 2 circles because I want it to be a little bit thicker, but you could just cut 1. So it's a way to use up the eggs. And then I'll take the circle that I just got all cut and I'll trace it onto another egg and I will cut that out as well. Again, you can cut 1 or 2. Maybe you don't even want to do this part. You want to just add the wood slice to the center, but I thought it'd be a little bit better in layers. And then once I get these cut, and I'm just using some serrated edges scissors, I'm just going to take some sandpaper and just kind of, smooth out that little roughness of the cut. Okay, and I do this for both of our flowers. And then I can just kind of layer them together. They should kind of fit decently. I don't care if a little edge is poking out because it was cut funny. That just gives our rustic flowers a little bit of personality. And then again, like I said earlier, we lay our wood slice on top. So now for my thicker wood circle, I've traced the back and the front, of course. And on the front side, I'm going to come in probably about 1/8 of an inch in. And I'm going to redraw that border there. The back side's going to be completely covered on both flowers. I'm just showing you on one flower. I've got the other one already cut and ready. So redraw that perimeter, and then I'm going to cut that out. Again, the back is fully covered. And then this front one, here comes Bella to help again. When I lay it on there, you'll see a little bit of border around there, and it will cover up our circle. All right? And I'm going to do the same, well, actually, no. On the center of our wood flower, I'm going to cut it out and cover it completely. I'm not worried about cover the back because we're going to glue that down, right? So it'll cover that centerpiece completely. On the wood slice, I'm going to do the same thing. I've traced around it and about 1/4 inch in, I came in there and redrew that pattern perimeter, and I'm going to cut that out. And sometimes you'll have a funny shape because your wood slice is shaped funny, but that's okay because it will look good once you place it on there and see that little border around there. All right, and here's my other side. It's all cut and ready to go. And I chose patterns. You can do the same colors for each one, but I chose colors and patterns that all coordinated together but gave me two different complete flowers. Now my bottom square pieces, I've got paper cut for that, and then I only cut 1 piece for the top of the block. This is how it's going to look when it's assembled. Okay, nice and easy. And now I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax mixed with water, heavily watered down, and we will stain those. But first thing I did is I glued those 2 thin wood egg circles together, okay? And then I can come in and stain this because I wasn't going to stain it at all, and I decided, well, it needs just a little bit of color. So I'm just staining all my pieces nice and light. I don't sand them or anything like that. I just kind of leave them like that because once they dry, they'll dry even lighter. And I think I originally wanted a little bit of stain, especially around these thicker wood circles. That little bit of stain around, it just gives it some coloring around the edge of that, okay? And here's my blocks doing that as well. Perfect. Not worrying about the bottom that will glue down. Now, you all know I like to sew, but I do have new people, that come to my channel all the time. I like to sew on my papers as well, just as if I'm sewing on fabric. I use a size 9 or 10 needle, right? Stitch length is on 4, tension set on 4, and I just sew around it, and I go from paper to fabric to paper to fabric. None of it bothers me. It doesn't dull my needle, doesn't break anything, and just so normal. Now I'm taking some colored inks that match my papers, and as you can see on the right side as I inked around the edge, how it compares to the left side, it just gives a little bit of shadowing to kind of help that paper pop up and not look so flat on our wood surface. And then I've got a little bit of a light tan here to go on any papers that had some tans, and I've got a nice shade of pink here to go on any papers that had some pinks. This is all optional. And then the next thing I want to do to add a little bit more personality to our papers so that when we glue it onto our wood, it looks neat, is I take the open end of my scissor blades, I scrape along the edges to kind of roughen those up, give it a little bit of a rustic texture, and between the scraping of the paper around the edges and our ink around the edges is going to help that paper to just kind of pop up off the wood, and all this is optional. You can just glue it to your wood. You don't have to do any of this. My wood dowel here, I only used one. I cut one at 7 inches and one at 5 inches. And I was going to drill my holes like I needed to, but I didn't have a drill bit big enough, so I gave it to my husband. He took it outside. I drilled a hole in each of the bottom of the thick wood pieces, and then I marked the center of the wood blocks, and I drilled a hole in the center of the wood blocks. And again, my wood dowel, I cut one at 7 and one at 5 inches. If you wanted to use 2 dowels, have them both the same length, you could do that. Now what I'm doing is laying my squares. It's going to go on top of the wood block, and I'm pressing where that hole was drilled so it indents it. All right, and then I know where to cut the circle out, but when I cut the circle out, I'm actually cutting it smaller than the actual size, so that when I push my dowel through that paper into that hole, it'll give us a nice clean edge right around the end of that dowel. Okay, and then the excess paper will pop out along the underside, right? We won't see that. And then I glue both my papers at the top of the block, and then I'm gluing both my papers on the bottom of those excess wood slices that I had left over, again from the flower I did in my last video. And then I'm going to glue the papers to the front and back of both of my thick wood slices. And then I'm just going to go back and forth. I'm kind of jumping back and forth between the flowers, and I'm just getting all my papers glued everywhere that I need to glue my papers, of course. Now, as far as the bases go, you don't really need to have like wood underneath that block if you have the heavier blocks, but I just thought it gave a better proportionate look to it. But if you have the lighter blocks that they're making now, like I said, I think they're hollow inside, you probably want a base underneath it, okay? And then once I get all the papers on, then I'm just going to start gluing, using my Fabri-Tac glue, gluing those thinner circles in the center, and then the wood slice right on top. That Fabri-Tac glue will hold these pieces. They're nice and light. And then I need to make some leaves, right? And I wanted this to kind of look vintage, so I have crochet lace from Joann's, as well as some of the sheer green lace, and I'm just layering both of those together because I need a little bit of green, right? It's supposed to look like leaves. And I'm just doing like a half knot bow around each of the dowels here, both sides. Just kind of, wrapping it around the dowel and just doing that little half knot. I don't try to do another half knot on top because I think that would look too bulky. Okay, just like that, nice and easy. And then what I'm going to do is take my Beacon Quick Grip glue, and I'm going to glue my wood block to the bottom of my wood slice. All right, here's where I do use Quick Grip glue and not just the Fabri-Tac, because I really want these to hold all that weight on top now, right? And then I add some of that glue inside of the hole on the flower, and then just inside of the hole on the block, and then push that dowel into it. That one's done. I do the same thing on the other flower, get those put together, and that makes this one done, and then that makes this project complete. Let's move on to project number 3. For this project, I'm using this Waverly cloth from Walmart. It's kind of like a duck cloth, and I was originally going to start out with these two fabrics, also from Walmart, very pretty, but I end up changing these two fabrics, and I go to just one pattern. You'll see that later, but the process still the same. I do have a free PDF pattern for you, so there's butterfly and flowers here. All right, you'll cut 2 of each. Now the butterfly, when you print it out, should be about 6 3/4 in length, and then the flower should be about 6 1/4 in length. So when you print it, you should kind of know about that size, or you could, print it bigger or smaller. Okay, you'll cut 2 of your butterfly, and on the butterfly, we're going to use these clothespins for the center. That's optional, but I thought it would look really cute. And then for the flower, there's going to be this little strip on the back that we're going to use to hang this on a garland. Now, you might want to make these without being a garland. You might want to just make them for bowl filler or to put on a tiered tray or something like that would look cute. If you do that on the flower, you don't need to cut that little optional rectangle piece out. But on the butterfly, you still may want to use the clothespin because I think it's just a cute little piece for personality. So I've got 5 butterflies cut out and 4 flowers cut out. And then, of course, I've got 4 of these little rectangle pieces cut out, 1 for each of the flowers. Okay? All right, and I have 4 buttons. I'm going to use a button in each of the flowers, so that's really cute. And then to start out with, I'm going to use some of this macrame twine. We'll add more to it later. So if you're a gluer, between the 2 fabrics, wrong sides together, at the edge, you're going to glue both pieces together, but you're going to kind of leave one petal open for stuffing. And then if you're going to use these for garland, you want to take that rectangle piece kind of right at the bottom of one of the petals, and you're going to glue only on the long sides because you want to leave the center open. I'm going to simulate with the paintbrush here. You want to leave that opening because that's where the string of the garland is going to go through, okay? And so for sewers, it's going to be the same thing, but you're going to only on one flower, you're going to sew that rectangle piece on first, and then put your flowers, petals, the whole flower together, sew around the entire edge, but remember, leave one petal open for stuffing. Same thing on the butterfly. Gluers, you're going to glue around the entire edge between the 2 pieces, leaving any area open for stuffing. And then, of course, once you've got it stuffed, you'll glue that closed. And then the clothespin will kind of go in the center here. I just wanted to give you a quick look. All right. Now, for sewing, I'm going to just kind of do the flower here. I'm going to sew long sides only, that little rectangle strip on, and then put both flower petals together. And now, as you can see here, I'm sewing around each flower petal, and I'm going to leave one open for stuffing. Okay, I just wanted to show you a little bit of that, and then we'll move into the butterfly. And I'm really close to that edge, probably about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance here. You can go in further if you want. And then again, same thing on the butterfly. The butterfly I am in probably about 1/4 of an inch going all the way around the edges, and I will just leave one part of that top wing open for stuffing. And I know I always kind of show a little bit of sewing, but I like to show a little bit of sewing because, you know, we always have new people, and I just kind of want to show you a little bit of that process. Here's what the butterfly would look like, sewn all the way around. Gluers, it would look the same too. One edge open, and then you're going to start stuffing. I'm just going to show you stuffing on the butterfly. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you stuff this butterfly through the center, you don't want to stuff it as full, kind of like on that bunny ear. You want a little bit of stuffing there, but not much, because you only have a little bit of an area open on that clothespin to go over that center. So make sure you can kind of fold your butterfly in half is the way to say it, because then we'll stuff that clothespin right over that kind of lightly stuffed area in the center. Okay, so here's all my 5 butterflies stuffed. I've got all 4 of my flowers stuffed. So once you stuff everything, you glue it or sew it closed, depending on your option. And then I've got my last flower here. I want to sew a button through the center. If you're a gluer, you know, you can just, if you want to add something through the holes in your button and then just glue the button in the center, or you can hand sew it as I'm doing. You come from the back to the front, you know, pulling your thread through and sewing your button on, and then once you've got your thread all through the buttonholes, you're going to come out the back side, right? And you're going to kind of pull it nice and taut, at least I like to give it a little bit of a quilted look in the center, and then you're just going to tie it off in the back, all right? And if you don't want to do this again, easy, whether you're a sewer or a gluer, you can just glue the button on. I want to use some Distress Oxide ink here. This is broken china because it kind of matches my flower. My flower is a little flat looking. So I'm going to use a little bit of this ink. I've got a little ink dauber here on the end of my finger. I'm going to rub it in my ink. And then I'm just going to go around the edges of the petal. You can see the shadowing on there, just like we did on the papers in our last project, right? And now I'm going to also go around that button as well, giving it a little bit of shadowing and depth. So can you see it here versus on the left side? See, it just gives a little something. Totally optional. You don't have to do it. You could do it on the butterfly as well. I don't know why I didn't, because it would look really cute on the wings of the butterfly, but my brain was just like, I just needed to do it on the flowers because the flowers look funny to me. Now I'm going to add in some more stuff here. As I said earlier, I would. These are some trims I'm going to be using. This is a floral trim from Hobby Lobby. A really cute shabby. This is the crochet trim from Dollar Tree, we all know. And then this is another crochet trim. I believe I got this at Joann's. So anything that you want to use. I also even bring in here some vintage trim that was gifted to me a couple of years back. Just a couple of pieces. And then, of course, our macrame twine here. I believe I cut it out at 84 inches. And then I've even got some little cute pom-pom trim. This isn't quite 84 inches because I didn't have enough, but it was enough. I think I had about 80 inches. It works. But this pom-pom trim is optional. First thing I'm going to do is take a safety pin and I'm going to feed my flowers onto the twine first. I'm calling it twine. On through the macrame thread first. I always jump on my words, you guys. If you're new to my channel, get used to it. It's me in all my glory. All right, and then once I've got it fed on there, I'm taking my ends of my macrame twine and I'm going to fold my twine in half and move my flowers around. I want 2 on each side, but I want to find the center of my twine basically. So here it is, as you can see on my finger. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the pom-pom trim, and I'm going to put the two together. I'm going to hold it together for a minute, and I'm going to quickly grab one of my butterflies, because remember we have 5 butterflies. So basically for me, a butterfly is going to go in the center. Then I'm going to grab a clothespin. Now I'm going to feed the clothespin over both of my, macrame twine and my pom-pom trim first, and then I'm going to feed that butterfly into that clothespin as well. And now we've got our center of our garland so that we can measure all our other pieces evenly, spaced out from that original butterfly. But before we space anything, I'm again taking a safety pin through that pom-pom trim, and I've got to feed that pom-pom trim through the flowers as well. So remember to do that. Now what I'm going to do is space everything apart, and I go about 2¼ inches between butterfly and flower, and I alternate. Really easy. And you can see what I'm doing here. I just alternate flower and butterfly, measuring in between. My flowers are already fed onto our stuff, so I just got to move them into position. And then I add the butterfly with the clothespin. And the clothespin is tight enough on that butterfly and our main garland, macrame and pom-pom trim, that it's going to hold nice and tight, although we will do a tiny bit of gluing. I'll show you that in a minute. But I'm doing the right side here, and then I'll do all the left off camera. Now everything's into position. The flower's going to move really easily, so I'm going to take some glue inside our little rectangle pocket, and I'm going to glue our pom-pom trim and our twine down so it stays in a position. And then on the butterfly, all I'm doing is just gluing, just right at each edge of the clothespin. I'm just gluing our twine and our pom-pom trim down right there. But I'm not trying to glue under the clothespin because, like I said, it's nice and tight. Okay? Once all that's done, I've got about 10¼ inches at the end of each butterfly on our garland. And what I'm going to do is just take that end and I'm going to fold it till the end of my twine hits that butterfly. And then I'm going to take both of those pieces together. And then I'm just going to tie a little knot so that I have a nice little hanging thing when I'm done here. So I've got a little loop. Okay? I'll do the same thing on the other end. I'll take that excess. I'll fold it toward the butterfly till the end of that twine meets the butterfly, and then I'll take both of those together and I'll tie a little knot and make a loop. And for me personally, I like to make sure that my loops are both the same size on each end. That's just my weirdness. Okay, then once I'm done that floral trim, I'm just using 2 pieces of that, and I'm just tying a little knot around the knot of our loop that we just made, just to cover that up. And I use a little bit of this floral trim because it's flowers. I thought it would look cute. So then once I do that, I'm just going to alternate down the line the trims how I want to do it in between the flowers and the butterflies. And then whatever I tie on the right side, I'm going to do the exact same pattern on the left side so it all matches. And then once I get everything together here, that makes this project complete. So I hope you enjoyed all the projects that we made today. Even Bella likes this cute little garland. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know which project you would like to make right now. Please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my channel to grow. And if you walked in here for the first time, you're just checking things out and you're digging what you saw, make sure before you click off, you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on another project from me. Now, before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. Having a courageous faith simply means to let go of your own control plan of life and trust God without limitations, to allow Him to lead you wherever He needs to take you. The word courage means to have strength in spite of any difficulties, pain, or danger. And no matter what your eyes may be seeing, in order to face what lies ahead, you must place your complete trust in God, because inevitably, He will be your one true source of strength that will give you all the courage you need to go the distance with what is lying ahead of you. Even though you may not feel physically or mentally equipped to face the challenge ahead, be rest assured that His strength will calm your fears as He leads you forward. God will have your back protected from behind, and He will also walk side by side with you, holding your hand as you act in faith, trust in His guidance, and have the courage to step forward. Undoubtedly, through this difficulty, you must have the willingness to accept God's will in your life. The journey may not be easy. In fact, handing your complete trust over to God in situations like this will demand a level of courage unlike no other. It means that your own complete control must be set aside in order to receive what only God can supply. Trust that He will never lead you into any uncertainty. He only wishes to guide you through whatever is before you. He has your whole travel itinerary mapped out for you, including any possible detours you may need to take or any alternate scenic routes along the way. There will not be any mountain He cannot move, or any valley that you walk through by yourself, and He knows all sources of living water for all His weary travelers. In the Bible, the book of Isaiah, chapter 41, verse 18, God says, "I will open rivers on the barren heights and springs within the valleys. I will turn the desert into a pool and dry land into springs." In verse 17, God says, "But I, the Lord, will answer them. I, the God of Israel, will not abandon them." And finally, be rest assured as you hear this, that no matter what you are facing, no matter what lies ahead, God says in verses 9 and 10, "I have chosen you and not rejected you. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Be encouraged that God is powerful, and He will accomplish what He desires in your life when you allow yourself to put your trust solely in Him. Submit to His leading, lean on His strength for comfort, and trust in Him for your courage. Have faith that you will never stand alone. Have faith that you will never walk alone, and have faith that you will not reach that finish line alone. God promises these things to you, and His word will never return void. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.